Hey, Shalom. It's your brother Yarash Amar from the GMS Champaign, Illinois branch. Before all things, I want to give all praises unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Alright, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and salutations to the Akim that's pushing this truth with all righteousness and sincerity. Alright, Shalom to the elect. This is the video. Want to get out here, man. From the brother page, the Hopeful Elect 3, which his brother always put up good videos, edifying things. Alright, you go subscribe and watch this, brother. Alright, so you can be edified, alright, and keep you up to date with prophecy, man. So I'm gonna play some of this and filter it out with the scriptures. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna read this verse first. Revelation 12:12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and those that dwell in the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. Alright, so the Lord, alright, he's making his move, alright, through Esau Edom, because you got to know that Esau Edom is the Lord's whooping stick. Alright, so the judgment of the Lord is about to come down. Alright, which Esau Edom is going to be the one to interact that. And as you see this devil is moving really quickly, man, with his plans and his agendas, man. Alright, things are going pretty fast. They want to have you people hooked to this charagma, alright, to this digital currency, alright, where you won't be able to buy or sell without bowing the knee. And you can see it on the horizon. Most of our people, they don't see anything at all because they're so gun-honed into folly, man. Alright. All they can see is the lustful things and the materialistic things of the world, which is ultimately the angels blinding them from seeing what's spiritual. All right, they're spiritually discerned, and they're going to be caught like a thief in the night. All right, for not taking the word of the Lord serious, man, because the Lord have his prophets out here teaching this word, man. So let me play some of this.
Utah has a plan to deal with homelessness, lining up behind President Trump's belief that people should not be allowed to sleep on the streets. State officials say they're preparing to pull more than 1,000 homeless people out of Salt Lake City and into a sprawling campus on the outskirts of town. Supporters call it a place where people can get the services they need. Critics call it a detention camp. Joining us now, New York Times reporter Ellen Berry, who filed that piece from Salt Lake City. So what exactly is this campus, this camp?
So for now, this is still in its planning stages. It hasn't been built, but it is definitely an effort to kind of operationalize the president's executive order from the summer, which said that overwhelmingly homeless people are suffering from mental illness or addiction, and overwhelmingly they should be put into long-term institutional care. That is a reversal of our long-standing approach to homelessness, which is prioritized housing. So this plan is a very large facility that would be devoted in large part to treatment of psychiatric and substance abuse disorders.
So it's kind of, you could argue, bringing back mental health institutions, which had fallen out of favor. There are arguments on both sides of this, as you well know, as you've reported. There are people who say it is not a good idea to let people suffer on the streets, that some people really do need help and they're not capable of getting themselves that help. And there are others that say if you force them into an institution or camp or campus, whatever you want to call it, and you don't allow them to leave, you violate their civil rights, you violate their free will. Do we have a sense of what this campus, if it's actually going to be staffed, if it's actually going to have the resources they need, and how it's going to be funded?
There are lots of questions, and those are some of the most important ones. The proposal, as I understood it, is actually a hybrid with about 1/3 of the beds, a kind of low barrier shelter, so that would be presumably voluntary, and the other 2/3, 800 beds, would be involuntary, either through civil commitment procedures or a diversion program through procedures or a diversion program through the courts. So you're sort of looking at a large facility that is in part involuntary and in part voluntary.
Do we know who's paying for this?
Well, it would have to be the Utah legislature, and that is a big question mark, whether there is going to be willingness to fund it. And I think the fear is that if this ball gets rolling and the services are not funded, then it becomes much more of a warehousing type facility and less of a treatment.
See, it's going to become a prison. All right? Like they said, 2/3 of this facility will be involuntary, man. And the one point I keep saying, all right, brother saying, period, is that in the midst of people getting poorer and poorer, all right, and the struggle to make it, the struggle just to house yourself and to feed yourself increases and becomes even harder. In the same token, they're criminalizing homelessness, man. So a lot of people are going to fall in this category where they're going to be getting snatched up into these concentration camps, all right, because that's what they're ultimately going to be. So this is Proverbs 22:16. It says, he that oppresseth the poor to increase his riches, and he that giveth to the rich shall surely come to want. All right, so all these things are going to come back down upon Esau Edom, man. The Lord is not going to forget all the wickedness this devil has done, and he's going to be repaid for that, man. All right, all this is going to come back down upon him, man. Is that let me get that in the book of 1 Thessalonians, I believe. Second Thessalonians, okay. All right, 2 Thessalonians 1:6. Seeing it is a righteous thing with Yahweh to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. All right, so this devil, he has to be repaid for the wickedness that he's putting through the planet Earth, man. All right, because the spirit has shown him not to be upright, man. He can't do good, man. And if he do it unwillingly. All right, according to the Sirach, the 14th chapter. All right, but hey, this is all prophesied that eventually people were gonna go into this cruel Lord. All right, so this is Isaiah 19:3. It says, "And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to idols and to charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to wizards. And the Egyptians will I give unto the hand of a cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord and the Lord of hosts." And these are the times that we're in. All right, where you have a harsh dictatorship. All right, draconianism, which draconian, goes into something being harsh. So, Esau's tightening down. All right, the first scripture that was read, Revelation 12:12, that the devil is coming down upon you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. So he's not Esau ain't playing around. He's not being the fake Mr. Nice Guy anymore, man. He's showing his horns, and you people about to see who the devil is.
Facility. So this is what is not yet clear. It's expensive to create psychiatric beds, and across the country we have a shortage of psychiatric beds for that reason. So expanding psychiatric treatment in this way would be extraordinarily expensive.
Yeah. Ellen Berry. Ellen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Joining us now, Utah State Senator. She was featured in that piece, Jen Plum, a Democrat who represents Salt Lake City. She's also an ER physician. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me here.
What are your concerns?
You know, this is a space that I have been passionate about and touched by for decades, starting with my own brother facing heroin dependence and addiction and ultimately losing him to that. And then coming into the space as a clinician and an advocate, and now as an elected person, I think that I share the hopes that many of those thinking in this space are, and then that is what we can get people better lives, and that we can do things with policy that will get people into spaces where they aren't living in such desperation. But seeing this proposal and seeing it come from a homeless services board that doesn't have a single medical person on it to represent what it would take, I'm worried that these good intentions have the potential to lead to wasted time, wasted money, and violations of people's civil liberties. So for me, that's kind of the, in a nutshell, concerns that I have.
That is a good point.
And that's exactly what it's going. Because it's not for your benefit, man. It's to round the poor people up, man, and eventually, start micro C-hipping them, man. All right, eventually start getting them so dependent on the government. All right, with a universal banking income. All right, all these things to the point where they have no other choice but to bend the knee. All right, so this is Daniel 8:25. It says, "And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart. And by peace and safety, by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hands." So, through his policies, this devil is going to cause craft to prosper, man. And he does this as a form of what? For the safety of the public, for the peace of the public. All right, but it says he's going to destroy many. All right. Now, this is the prophet Daniel prophesying about the up and coming arrival of Antiochus Epiphanes. All right. Back in the Maccabees. All right. Back in Grecian times. But you can equate this to today, man, because those were Edomites. All right. These are Edomites ruling now, and they have that same wicked spirit. All right. But at the end of this prophecy, it says, and he shall also stand up against the prince of princes. All right, that's talking about when Yahushua makes his return to this earth. All right, to put things in rightful order. But it says he shall be broken without hand, because it ain't gonna, it ain't gonna be a thing to the Lord, man. All right, it's a video floating around where a chariot was flying and they shot a missile at it, man, and the missile pretty much split in two. All right, it didn't do nothing to the chariot at all, man. These devils can't mess with the Lord, man.
And again, I think it's important to remember that there are people that do really need help and are struggling, and there are family members who want their loved ones to get the help that they need. And sometimes, in some cases, voluntary is not necessarily an option. That being said, you are a part of the legislature and you've expressed your concerns. Is there a way to amend any legislation that might come up to make it so that it's mandatory to have a certain number of healthcare professionals, of addiction professionals, psychiatric professionals on staff and there every year in order to make sure that these places don't become detention centers?
I think that's really a crucial point, and how much of that happens in policy and code versus how much of that happens in planning, that all remains to be seen. We've almost hit this inflection point where folks are saying, oh, housing first didn't work, now we need this treatment first model. And for me, I don't see it that there's opposing camps. I see it that there's the same needs for people. And for me, housing first was supposed to mean get a roof over people's head first, and then get them the treatment they need, the supports they need, the case management they need, the education they need. Housing first.
See, but that's too much like right with Esau, and that ain't how Esau operates, man. Right, he's the devil. Proverbs 22:22, it says, "Rob not the poor because he is poor, neither oppress the afflicted in the gate. For the Lord will plead their cause and spoil the soul of those that spoiled them." All right, so all that's gonna come back upon you, man. All right, Esau's not gonna get away with none of this shit, man. Ain't none of this. He's not gonna get away with none of this. All right, Galatians 6:7. Be not deceived, Yahweh is not mocked, for whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For if he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, but he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. All right, It says, and let us not be worried in well doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. Alright, so brothers, you have to just keep pushing, man. All this blasphemy, man, it ain't gonna last, man. Alright, these devils gonna reap what they sowed, man. They put all this death and destruction into the planet Earth, and that's how they gonna go out, man. With death and destruction. It's bound to happen, man. These devils are gonna get it.
First, for me, that's what that meant, and then build upon. But our systems didn't necessarily fund those resources, right? So we call it a failure, when really it wasn't the structure or the system so much as the resources there.
Yeah.
We're not that far apart on what people need. Where our chasm is the expectation of whether or not we can force people into it or not. I personally know from a fact, from a family member and from a clinician, you cannot force people into wellness. You have to provide an environment that supports them, and they have to want it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And there's also, I mean, when the institutions were dismantled, there was an idea that they weren't safe spaces, they weren't helpful, and that it would be better for people to be in the community and be treated in the community so they could be closer to family and they could recover and become a functioning part of society. It was that
That ain't what Esau want, though, man. Alright. I think I'm gonna end it right there. You know, you brothers can go check out the rest of this video. If that's what you want. It's on the Hope for Elect 3. But Lord willing, this was edifying for the elect's sake, who we endure all things for. So with that, I'm going to give all praises unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakwadash, and double honors to the apostles, elders, great millstone. Until next time, Akim, Shalom.